Part 1. The architecture of the external mind. I. The fundamental truths. Before organizing your mind, you must accept the biological hardware limitations. Most messy minds stem from trying to use the brain for functions it is evolutionarily unsuited for. Truth 1. The brain is a CPU, not a hard drive. Your brain is designed for processing, pattern recognition, decision-making, synthesis, not storage. The bottleneck working memory can hold only 4 to 7 items at once, Miller's Law. If you try to call the bank, draft the report, and buy milk in your head simultaneously, you are using 50% of your processing power just to not forget them. This kills your IQ and creative ability. This is called cognitive load. When your RAM is full of storage items, you cannot engage in structured thinking. Truth 2. The Zeigarnik effect. This is a psychological phenomenon stating that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. The consequence: if you do not write a task down, your subconscious will loop it repeatedly to ensure you don't forget. This is the source of background anxiety. The solution: you cannot organize your mind inside your mind. You must build an external brain. 2. The categorization frameworks. The how. To recall better, you must store information based on context and utility, not just the date you received it. Here are the 3 most effective, truth-based systems for categorization. Framework A, PARA, action-based categorization. Best for task management, project execution, and daily life organization. Creator, Tiago Forte. Most people organize by subject. Example: marketing, health. This fails because it doesn't tell you what to do. PARA organizes by actionability. 1. Projects, short-term active. Definition: a series of tasks linked to a goal, with a deadline. Truth: if it has no deadline, it is not a project, it is a dream. Examples: launch website V2, buy a house, plan Q3 offsite. Rule: this is your hot storage. Check this daily. 2. Areas, long-term responsibility. Definition: spheres of activity, with a standard to be maintained over time. No deadline. Examples: health, finances, car maintenance, professional development. Rule: you don't finish health, you maintain it. Projects, like run a marathon, often arise from areas. 3. Resources, topics of interest. Definition: themes of ongoing interest and learning. Useful utility, but no immediate pressure. Examples: web design assets, psychology research, cooking recipes, stock market data. Rule: this is your library, you categorize here for future utility. 4. Archives, inactive. Definition: anything from the previous 3 categories that is no longer active. Truth: hoarding kills clarity. Moving things to archive is the most important step to keep your mind clear. Examples: completed projects, inactive hobbies, past tax returns. Framework B, the LATCH principle, data organization. Best for sorting raw data, files, or specific lists. Creator: Richard Saul Wurman. When you are overwhelmed by data and don't know how to sort it, there are only 5 ways to organize anything. If you are stuck, pick one of these 5. 1. Location, organized by geography. Example: maps, anatomy, file storage on a hard drive. 2. Alphabet, organized A to Z. Example: dictionaries, contact lists. Use this only when the user knows the specific name of what they are looking for. 3. Time, organized by chronology. Example: calendar, history, timelines. Best for tracking progression. 4. Category, organized by similarity. Example: department store sections, animal kingdom. Best for browsing. 5. Hierarchy, organized by magnitude. Example: best for burst, smallest to largest. Best for comparison. Framework C, the Zettelkasten, associative categorization. Best for learning, recalling better, and creative output. Creator: Nicholas Luhmann. Standard note-taking puts notes in rigid folders. The brain, however, works by association, neurons firing together. The Zettelkasten method mimics the brain. +1. The core concept, atomic notes. One idea, one note. Do not write long documents. Write one single concept per note. Autonomous. The note must make sense on its own if you read it 10 years later. The categorization method, linking. Instead of asking, where should I file this? You ask, in what context do I want to see this again? Direct links. Connect note A to note B if they related. Structure. 1. Fleeting notes. Quick scratches during the day. Delete or process these daily. 2. Literature notes. Summaries of things you read, in your own words. 3. Permanent notes. Synthesis of ideas. You combine your thoughts with the literature notes. Why this improves recall? You are building a web. When you pull on one string, a topic. All related ideas come with it. 3. Structured thinking, the pre-processing. Before you categorize information, you must structure your thinking to ensure the information is high quality. Garbage in, garbage out. 1. The McCE principle. Origin McKinsey & Company. This is the gold standard for organizing problems and solutions. It stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Mutually exclusive, no overlap. Is each category distinct? Bad, categorizing customers by age and hobbies. A person can be 25 and like tennis. Good, categorizing by age groups 0 to 20, 21 to 40, 41 plus. A person can only be in one. Collectively exhaustive, no gaps. Does the structure cover every possibility? Bad, categorizing transport as cars and planes. Misses boats, trains, bikes. Good, land, sea, air. Application for your mind. When you are confused, it is usually because your thoughts are overlapping or you are missing a variable. Force your problem into a Mies tree. Problem, profit is down. Mies split, it is either revenue is down, OR, costs are up. It cannot be anything else. Drill down. If revenue is down, it is either price is down, OR, volume is down. 2. First principles thinking. Origin, Aristotle or physics. This is how you strip away fluff and assumptions to reach the truth. The method. 1. Identify your current assumptions. We must buy this expensive software to organize. 2. Break the problem down to its fundamental truths, physics or biology. Organization requires a list and a retrieval system. Pen and paper can do this. 3. Rebuild from the ground up. Why this helps recall. It is easier to remember a single fundamental principle than 100 memorized rules. If you understand the principle of gravity, you don't need to memorize the trajectory of every falling object. IV. The operational workflow. Putting it together. How to apply this daily to organize your mind. Phase 1. Capture. The brain dump. Tool, a digital inbox, Notion, Todoist, Notes app, or a physical notebook. Protocol. Anytime a thought, task, or idea strikes, capture it immediately. Do not categorize it yet. Just write it down. Objective. Empty the RAM. Reduce the Zeigarnik effect. Phase 2. Clarify, the processor. Once a day, review your inbox. Apply the following logic to every item. 1. Is it actionable? No. Trash it. Or store it in resources, reference. Or put it in archives. Yes. Proceed to step 2. 2. Will it take less than 2 minutes? Yes. Do it immediately. Do not organize it. No. Proceed to step 3. 3. Am I the right person to do it? No. Delegate it. Yes. Defer it. Put it in a project list with a deadline. Phase 3. Review, the recall mechanism. Organization without review is hoarding. The weekly review. This is non-negotiable. Clear your desktop or downloads folder. Sort into resources or archives. Review upcoming calendar. Review waiting for list. Update projects. Move stalled projects to someday or maybe a specific archive list. V. Cognitive biases that disorganize you. To maintain a structured mind, you must guard against the software bugs in your brain. 1. The planning fallacy. Truth. You will underestimate how long a task takes. Fix. Apply a safety factor. If you think it takes 1 hour, block 1. 5 hours. 2. Decision fatigue. Truth. Your ability to make good decisions degrades as the day goes on. Fix. Automate trivial decisions. What to wear, what to eat. Do your heavy structured thinking, MES analysis, in the morning. 3. Information overload, the collector's fallacy. Truth. Collecting information feels like learning, but it is not. Fix. Use a just-in-time learning method. Only research information you have an immediate use for in a current project. Store everything else in resources, and forget about it until needed. Summary of Part 1. 1. Externalize. Your brain is for thinking, not storage. 2. Categorize. Use para for actionable life tasks. Use Zettelkasten or linking for knowledge and ideas. 3. Structure. Use MES to break down complex problems without gaps or overlaps. 4. Workflow. Capture everything instantly, process daily, review weekly. Ready for Part 2. In the next section I will cover advanced mental models, second-order thinking, inversion, and the map versus territory. The decision matrix, how to structure choices logically. Synthesis, how to turn these organized notes into creative output, and super recall using spaced repetition. Emotional regulation in thinking, separating facts from feelings. Would you like me to generate Part 2 now? This is Part 2 of 2. In Part 1, we built the architecture, para, Zettelkasten, and the workflow, capture, clarify, review. Part 2 focuses on the software of the mind, advanced mental models for structured thinking, algorithms for decision-making, and the specific science of super recall, how to actually remember what you store. Part 2, the software of the structured mind. VSI, advanced mental models, structured thinking. Structured thinking is the ability to run your problems through a mental simulator before acting. Most people react. Structured thinkers compute. Use these models to debug your thoughts. 1. Inversion, the anti-goal. Origin, Carl Jacobi, mathematician, or Stoicism. The truth. It is often impossible to know the right answer, but it is easy to identify the wrong one. Avoiding stupidity is easier than seeking brilliance. The application, instead of asking, how do I become successfully organized? Ask, what would guarantee my failure? Failure conditions, trusting my memory, having 5 different notebooks, never reviewing my list, hoarding useless data. Action, systematically eliminate these failure conditions. What remains is success. Use for recall instead of, how do I remember this? Ask, what causes me to forget? Answer, lack of context, lack of repetition. Fix those. 2. Second-order thinking. Origin, Howard Marks, economics. The truth. Every action has a consequence, first order. Every consequence has its own consequence, second order. Most people stop at first order. The application, when making a decision or organizing a category, ask, and then what? Decision, I will reply to every email immediately to stay on top of things. First order, inbox is clear, good. Second order, I am constantly interrupted, my deep work suffers, and my IQ drops due to context switching, bad. Conclusion, do not optimize for first-order gratification. Batch email processing instead. 3. The map is not the territory. Origin, Alfred Korzybski. The truth, the menu is not the food. Your notes or lists are not the work. A common trap for organized people is spending all day organizing the map, lists, and never traveling the territory. Doing the work. The application, do not confuse having a plan with progress. If your system takes more time to maintain than the time it saves you, destroy the system. It is a bad map. 4. Occam's razor and Hanlon's razor. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. If you have a complex organization system with 50 tags and colors, you are violating this. Complexity breeds failure. Hanlon's razor, never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity or fatigue. When you forget something, don't beat yourself up, I am lazy. Recognize the mechanical failure. I didn't write it down. 7. The science of super recall. You asked how to recall better. Reading something once is not learning, it is merely recognizing. To actually recall, you must fight the forgetting curve. 1. Active recall, the testing effect. The truth: the brain does not strengthen memory when putting information in, reading, or highlighting. It strengthens memory when struggling to pull information out. The protocol: stop rereading your notes. It is a waste of time. Instead, test yourself. Bad: reading a definition of entropy. Good: writing what is entropy on one side of a card, and the answer on the back. Looking at the question and forcing your brain to retrieve the answer. 2. Spaced repetition, the algorithm. The truth: memories decay exponentially. However, if you recall a memory just before you are about to forget it, the memory resets and decays much slower the next time. The protocol: you need to review information at expanding intervals. Review 1, 1 day after learning. Review 2, 3 days later. Review 3, 1 week later. Review 4, 1 month later. Practical tool: do not do this manually. Use software like Anki or Remnote. These apps handle the algorithm. You just put the data in, using active recall format. 3. The Feynman technique, encoding. The truth: if you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it. Complexity is a mask for a lack of understanding. The protocol: to organize a complex concept in your mind so it sticks. 1. Write the concept name at the top of a blank page. 2. Write down an explanation of the concept as if you were teaching it to a 12-year-old. 3. Identify where you get stuck or use jargon. This is the gap in your knowledge. 4. Go back to the source material to fill the gap. 5. Simplify and create an analogy. 8. Decision algorithms, output. A structured mind is useless if it cannot make decisions. Use these frameworks to process the data you have organized. 1. The Eisenhower matrix, prioritization. Organize tasks by urgency and importance. Quadrant 1, urgent or important. Crises, do immediately. Quadrant 2, not urgent or important. Strategic planning, health, skill building. Schedule this. This is where success happens. Quadrant 3, urgent or not important. Interruptions, most emails. Delegate or minimize. Quadrant 4, not urgent or not important. Doom scrolling. Delete. 2. Regret minimization framework. Origin, Jeff Bezos. When torn between two paths, project yourself to age 80. Will I regret not doing this? This strips away short-term fear and highlights long-term value. 3. The 40-70 rule. Origin, Colin Powell. Never make a decision with less than 40% of the information you are guessing. Never wait for more than 70% of the information. You are stalling or paralyzed. Truth: you will never have 100% certainty. Operate in the 40-70 zone and trust your intuition for the rest. 9. Emotional regulation, the stabilizer. A disorganized mind is often an emotional mind. Panic creates clutter. 1. Facts versus stories. The concept: fact: I did not finish the report today. Story: I am lazy, I am going to get fired, I am a failure. Truth: the story is a hallucination. The fact is just data. The fix: when you feel overwhelmed, write down the facts in one column and the stories in another. Strike out the stories. Deal only with the facts. 2. Circle of control, stoicism. Draw a circle. Inside, your thoughts, your actions, your response. Outside, the economy, other people's opinions. The past, the outcome. Rule: pour 100% of your energy into the inside. Ignore the outside. Focusing on the outside creates anxiety, which scatters the mind. X. the ultimate synthesis. Building your second brain. Here is the practical, step-by-step summary to integrate Part 1 and Part 2 into a lifestyle. 1. The stack. Tools. You need only 3 tools. More tools equals more mess. Capture tool, something fast on your phone. Apple Notes, Google Keep, or a pocket notebook. Storage or thinking tool, a database for para and notes. Notion, Obsidian, Evernote. Action tool, a task manager. Todoist, Things 3, and calendar. 2. The daily loop. Morning, check calendar and task manager. Identify the one big thing, quadrant 2 task. During day, work on the one thing. Everything else that pops up goes into capture tool. Do not process it yet. Closing, empty capture tool. Sort items into task manager, project, or storage reference. 3. The review loop. Sunday, look at your projects. Are they moving? If not, why? Apply inversion. Monthly, look at your areas, health, finance. Are you ignoring any? 4. The learning loop. When you learn something valuable, create a Zettelkasten note. Connect it to other notes. Create a flashcard Anki if you need to memorize it strictly. Final truth. The mess is usually fear. We often keep our minds messy because clarity is terrifying. If you clearly list exactly what you need to do, you no longer have the excuse of being confused. You are forced to act or admit you are choosing not to. Organization is not about being neat. It is about confronting reality. Action plan, what to do right now. Do not just read this and move on. That is passive consumption. 1. Perform a mind sweep. Take a blank sheet of paper. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Write down every single open loop in your life. Every task, worry, project, idea, and chore. Get it all out of your head. 2. Apply para. Draw 4 boxes on a new sheet. Projects, areas, resources, archives. Sort your list into these 4 boxes. 3. Delete. Look at the list. Cross out 20% of items that you honestly will never do. Would you like me to help you set up the structure for a specific project or problem you are facing right now using these frameworks? This is Part 3, the unspoken dimensions of cognitive mastery. In Parts 1 and 2, we covered the structure, para, Zettelkasten, and the software, mental models, active recall. However, even the best software fails on broken hardware or in a chaotic environment. This section covers the missing 3,000-word equivalent of value, biological engineering, environmental architecture, input supply chains, and output protocols. These are the force multipliers that make the previous systems actually work. Biological engineering, optimizing the hardware. You cannot think your way out of biological failure. If your neurochemistry is off, your mind organization will crumble into anxiety and fog. 1. The neurochemistry of the save button. You asked how to recall better. Most people think memory happens during studying. It does not. Memory happens during sleep and rest. The mechanism to trigger neuroplasticity, rewiring the brain to hold a memory. You need 2 things: focus, acetylcholine, plus urgency or alertness, norepinephrine. This highlights the neurons. The consolidation, the actual wiring, happens during deep sleep and REM sleep. The protocol, the 90-minute bout. Your brain operates on ultradian rhythms. You have roughly 90 minutes of high focus capacity before neurotransmitters deplete. The gap effect. After a 90-minute learning sprint, do nothing for 10 to 20 minutes. Do not scroll your phone. Staring into space or walking allows the hippocampus to replay the firing sequence at high speed, 20x, marking it for consolidation. NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. If you are tired, a 20-minute yoga nidra or NSDR script flushes adenosine, the sleepiness molecule, better than a nap. This reboots your working memory. 2. Dopamine management and the cheap high. Disorganization often stems from a fried dopamine reward system. If you constantly check email or social media, you are training your brain to seek novelty rather than depth. The trap: organizing often feels boring. If your brain is addicted to high dopamine hits, TikTok, News. It will reject the low dopamine task of structured thinking. The fix. Dopamine detox, the real version. You do not need to live like a monk. You just need to front-load paint. Rule. No high dopamine inputs, social media, video games, tasty food, until the cognitive work is done. Why? This keeps your baseline dopamine low, making the boring work of organization feel relatively satisfying. 3. Circadian synchronization. Your cognitive abilities fluctuate predictably based on body temperature. Peak analysis, morning. As body temperature rises, executive function peaks. Do your MES analysis, project planning, and heavy decision-making here. Peak insight, afternoon or evening. As the body cools and you get slightly tired, inhibitory networks in the brain relax. This is bad for math, but excellent for creative synthesis. Connecting Zettelkasten notes. 2. The information supply chain, advanced input management. Garbage in, garbage out. A messy mind is usually just a mind filled with low-quality, conflicting data. You must filter aggressively. 1. The Lindy effect, the ultimate filter. How do you know what to read or study? The law? The future life expectancy of a non-perishable thing, like a book or idea, is proportional to its current age. Application. If a book has been in print for 50 years, it will likely be relevant for 50 more. Read The Prince, Meditations, Wealth of Nations. If a business book was written 6 months ago, it will likely be garbage in 6 months. Rule. Ignore the news. Read history. The news is noise. History is the signal. This clears 90% of the clutter in your mind immediately. 2. Syntopic reading. Truth mapping. Reading one book on a topic creates bias. Reading 2 creates confusion. Reading 4 creates synthesis. The method. When you need to organize your mind around a complex topic. Example. Nutrition. 1. Select 3 to 4 reputable books with opposing views. Example. Vegan, keto, paleo. 2. Do not read them cover to cover. Read the table of contents and index. 3. Find the overlapping concepts. 4. Triangulate. Where do they agree? Example. Avoid processed sugar. That is the truth. Where do they disagree? That is nuance or opinion. Result? You stop memorizing facts and start understanding patterns. Patterns are easier to recall. 3. Just in time versus just in case. Just in case information. Learning something because it might be useful someday. Example. Learning Python when you are a non-technical manager. Result. Mental hoarding, anxiety, forgetting. Just-in-time information. Learning something because you have a blocked project right now. Example. Learning Python because you need to scrape data for tomorrow's report. Result. High retention, immediate application. Rule. If you cannot identify the project, active, that this information serves, do not learn it. Save it to resource and walk away. 3. Environmental architecture, the extended mind. Cognition does not happen only in the skull. It happens in the interaction between the brain and the environment. 1. Affordance theory and friction design. Affordance, a visual clue that suggests how an object should be used. Friction, the energy required to start an action. The hack, you must design your physical space to make organization inevitable and disorganization impossible. To recall better, put the book or Kindle on your pillow. You must move it to sleep. To focus, put your phone in another room, creates high friction. The mere presence of a smartphone reduces working memory capacity by 10%, even if off. Visual cues. If you need to mail a letter, put it on top of your keys. You are offloading the memory task to the physical environment. 2. Digital hygiene, the clean room. Digital clutter is invisible, but deadly. Zero notification policy. Turn off all notifications except distinct human communication, SMS or calls. No news, no likes, no game updates. The desktop bankruptcy. If your computer desktop is a mess, move all L files into a folder named Old Desktop Date. Start fresh. You will realize you never need to open that folder again. Contextual devices, if possible. Use one device for consumption, iPad, and one for creation, laptop. The brain creates location-based habits. If you watch Netflix on your laptop, your brain expects entertainment when you open it to work. IV. Output engineering. Bridging thought to action. Organizing the mind is useless if it doesn't lead to output. These are the protocols for high-speed execution. 1. Intermediate packets, enter packs. Procrastination happens when a task is too big. Example. Write thesis. The brain fears the energy cost. The solution. Break work into intermediate packets, small, usable chunks that can be done in 20 minutes. Example. Instead of write report, the tasks are 1. Draft title options, packet 1. 2. Dump bullet points for section A, packet 2. 3. Find 3 charts for section B, packet 3. Why this works? Even if you get interrupted, packet 1 is done and saved. You never lose progress. This turns a messy process into an assembly line. 2. The Hemingway Bridge. Ernest Hemingway would end his writing day by stopping mid-sentence. The logic. If you finish a section completely, starting the next day is hard. The cold start problem. The application. When you finish your workday, write down the very first step for tomorrow. Leave the tabs open. Leave the document mid-sentence. Result? You bypass the morning ramp-up period and slip immediately into flow. 3. The OODA loop. Origin. Colonel John Boyd, USAF. How to think in chaos or high pressure. 1. Observe. Gather raw data. What is happening? 2. Orient. Update your mental model. What does this mean? Filter through culture or bias. 3. Decide. Choose a hypothesis. 4. Act. Test it. The insight, speed matters more than accuracy. It is better to go through the loop 10 times quickly, correcting course as you go, than to spend weeks trying to decide perfectly once. V. Metacognition, the self-correcting mind. Tools to debug your own thinking process. 1. Premortem, the Stoic project manager. Before starting a major life-changer project, write a premortem. The prompt, imagine it is 6 months from now, and this project has failed catastrophically. Write the story of how it happened. The result? You will uncover hidden risks you were ignoring. Example. I got burned out, we ran out of money. Action. Create a prevention plan for each of these specific failure points. 2. Steel manning, anti-strawman. When you disagree with an idea or a person, you usually strawman it, attack the weakest version of the argument. This makes you stupid. The protocol. You are not allowed to argue against an idea until you can state the opposing view better than the opponent can. Why? This forces you to understand the structure of the opposing logic. Once you understand it, you can dismantle it effectively or integrate the truth from it. 3. The 5 whys. Root cause analysis. Origin. Toyota. When you have a problem, example. I am disorganized. Ask why. 5 times. 1. Why? Because I have too many notes. 2. Why? Because I write everything down without filtering. 3. Why? Because I am afraid of missing out on info. FOMO. 4. Why? Because I don't trust my ability to solve problems on the fly. 5. Why? Because I lack confidence in my own intelligence. Root cause. The problem is not the notes. The problem is insecurity. Fixing the notes won't help until you fix the insecurity. VI. Social dynamics, organizing the network. We often forget that other people are the biggest source of chaos or clarity. 1. Dunbar's number and the inner ring. You can only maintain 150 relationships. You can only maintain 5 close allies. The audit. List the 5 people you spend the most time with. The truth. You are the average of their organized or disorganized minds. If they are chaotic, you will be chaotic mirror neurons. Action. You must ruthlessly curate your input of people just like you curate information. 2. The personal CRM. Your memory is not good enough to remember every detail of your network. The system, keep a simple list, spreadsheet or note, of key people. Data fields, last contact date, name of spouse or kids, current major challenge. The routine, before meeting them, check the note. How is your daughter's knee surgery? This is not manipulation. This is caring efficiently. It allows you to bypass small talk and get to structured, deep connection immediately. 7. The final truth, the identity shift. All the tools in the world, Para, Notion, Anki, OODA, fail if your identity is, I am a messy person. The psychology of identity, behavior change is hard. Identity change is permanent. Stop saying, I am trying to get organized. Start saying, I am not the kind of person who misses deadlines. When you change the I am, the brain automatically aligns the actions to avoid cognitive dissonance. The standard versus the goal. Goal, clean my desk. Temporary. Standard, I never leave the office with a dirty desk. Permanent. Raise your standards, and the organization will follow. Final synthesis. The master workflow. If we combine part 1, 2, and 3, here is the ultimate operating system. 1. Biological. Protect your sleep and 90-minute focus cycles. 2. Input. Filter via the Lindy effect. Read syntopically. 3. Capture. Catch every thought instantly in a capture tool. 4. Process. Apply Para. Actionability. And Zettelkasten. Linking. 5. Think. Use inversion and MECE to structure the problem. 6. Decide. Use regret minimization and 70% rule. 7. Output. Use intermediate packets and the Hemingway bridge. 8. Review. Weekly review to flush the system. This is the comprehensive architecture of a structured mind. There is nothing else you need to add. The rest is just doing the work.